If you haven't yet subscribed to Leader Freak TV, please do so right now. Even hit the notification button so that you never ever miss an episode. And when you come onto the platform, go to the playlist and choose from amongst the playlist. Choose a video that will answer your most relevant need or question or thought at that time. We look forward to seeing you and engaging with you regularly. I think we should look at perhaps continuously setting an agenda. Like every year we run a team retreat or thinking retreat is what we do every year.
Planning,
and
you mean planning, strategizing,
absolutely
ahead.
And we do that yearly. And I think the difference with what we do is that we take into cognizance the fact that during the year, we may or may not have hired new staff, or there may be exits, but we're also recognizing the fact that people change consistently. So even in that review, we look at our values, whether we're the same team or not. We rehash the values of the organizations. We make sure that the reason for our being is continuously driven into all of us, that we are still on the same page. And it's one of the things that we consistently do. If it changes, then we must all know that it has changed. So we never leave that out of our strategy. The realignment of values and realignment of purpose is one of the things that we do at Every Thinking Retreat. What else are we missing? Does that help?
Yeah, I think we've given a framework that can support people. This in and of itself will not solve all your problems if you work together. But 1, 2, 3 of them at least will shift the couple, or will shift you much better in running the business together. It's also a joy if this is done very well, because you get the yin and the yang. You get the two perspectives of the couple in making sure that the business is effectively run and is achieving its objectives. And so it's not bad. It is not a death sentence to work together with your spouse. I think it is, one, are we willing to make it work? Are we willing to sacrifice pride, ego, and other things at some points in the relationship for the betterment of both the marriage and the business? So I think if that mindset is there, any couple can work together beautifully and nicely. And maybe the last point that I would add is, and something you are very big on, is to find time within the busyness to nurture the relationship. It's very important to have breaks, to have points where we can get together as a couple and us as business partners. That's very, very important. And then probably finally transparency in running the finances. Nobody is hiding anything somewhere. We deal with customers, we deal with staff, we deal with suppliers, we deal with vendors transparently, and that we are not doing any corner things behind the back of our partner. I think if we can put all this together, it gives a very nice framework for working together with your spouse effectively.
Let's also look at some of the challenges and how we overcome them. So some of the challenges could be financial, especially when you start at the beginning of the relationship of working together. When you start every business, you're putting in so much. The input is important if you want to experience the impact that you want to give. We've had financial challenges, and then we have had like the intertwining of the home and work. Some are nice. So you said some are, for example, we commute together most of the time unless we have separate meetings. So if we're commuting together, then it gives us the opportunity to even drop our children at school together. So all the entire family at some point is spending about 10, 15 minutes together every morning without distractions. And what we do, we intentionally switch off the radio, so we're hearing ourselves. And then we pray, we talk, we discuss. Sometimes we discuss our values, challenges, and then sometimes it's just simply letting our children know that we appreciate them and then that trip is meaningful. So that's nice. So as part of that is we spend, there's opportunity to spend a lot more time together. So that one is nice. It's not a challenge, it's a good one. It's a benefit. What else? But in that same benefit, depending on the personalities of the people, one person can be tired because we're different people. Somebody just wants space to themselves. Somebody wants to be together all the time. So depending on which area you find yourself, you will have to have an honest conversation about it so that you can arrive at some agreement that enables the other person not to feel rejected and also feel that they do not matter to you or that they are bedding onto you. So it's one of those things that we need to be conscious of as well. So that's a good benefit and a challenge. The other one I put together was the home and work. It looks like we never stop talking about work, or you never stop talking about home.
I think it's always drawing a balance. Once again, clear role definitions are helpful in this situation, where even at home, who does what, who is responsible for what, who leads on what, who should the children go to on what. These are things that must be discussed, and if you have children, with the involvement of the children, so that everybody is aware of what must be done and who is responsible for it. So these are all, they must be discussed. And then also knowing when to stop what and when to start what. I see that if you don't agree on it, then it may pose a challenge for you. The two other things I see as potential challenges will be one, differences in leadership styles, differences in management styles, and then differences in communication styles. These are all, for instance, maybe one person is either a melancholic, and so it's very detail-oriented, and would, so another person is choleric, big picture thinking, I don't want to know about details, but the two of you must be aware of these differences and in how you manage based on these temperamental differences. Then communication. How do we even communicate?
But in our case, in our case, I'm very melancholic in nature, and Michael is very choleric in nature. So what we find works is, for example, that it takes me a while to get some things done. But once it's done and done well.
Very detailed.
Then, so you have to complement each other in that he can start the work, I can finish the work. Do you see? So it works very well. I tend to be very flowery with my language. But that's not good for business, right? Because I love to write. That's how I communicate. That's how I express. So when I do write and I start, then I make sure that Michael reads it, because then it becomes a business language as opposed to my ever flowery self, where I even change my font to make sure that it's beautiful for me to work with. So you need to understand and know these things and see how you can complement each other with it. Otherwise, it's a nuisance, really.
Good. Same with communication. I mean, based on upbringing, professional background, and sometimes temperament, you might communicate differently to staff, to clients, and others. So once again, being in awareness of how do I communicate? How does my spouse communicate? Now, how do we support each other? Some people are very good orators. They can talk to staff and they can negotiate deals and people will thank them. Others too find it difficult to talk, especially if it's more than 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And so how do we complement each other? For instance, the wife knows that the husband is a very analytical person. He doesn't like public things, but he's the one who can work out the numbers and crack all the deals. And so when it comes to public things, the wife leads. When it comes to the analysis and the presentation of figures, the husband does that. So it's always about complementing each other, not letting the difference become a nuisance and a point of difference, or departure, but rather a point of strength. And it's all about one, paying attention and observing your spouse, and then 2, following from the observation, having a conversation about how we can work better together. I think the communication part is very, very important. Very, very important. Communicate your feelings, transfer your knowledge, communicate your feelings, transfer your knowledge. Don't ever be shy of communicating. Over communication is better than no communication, little communication. That's what I have seen. Yeah. That the more we communicate, the more we understand each other. And so whatever it is that you are going through, voice it out and let's discuss.
And that gets more into vulnerability. And I think that as a people, a number of us have not been conditioned to feel vulnerable because we've been taught that vulnerability is weakness. Crying is weakness, but in your vulnerability is your strength sometimes. And being able to open up and own up to the fact that this is what my vulnerability is. So I'm good at it and I can do it by myself, but really, truly, you're better at it than I am. And I think you should do it. It's important. Also, and like really communicating you have to be vulnerable. You need to be able to truly share, and the other person must be able to listen, whether you're in agreement or not. And that takes time. It doesn't just happen. It took us a bit of time to be able to cultivate that. So it goes through a process of cultivation. We're still not 100% there yet, but we continue to make it a priority, which is something that I think people should pay attention to as well. The times and the seasons in the people's lives, your spouse's life, your life, the business's life, the home life. At some point, I remember, and these are some of the challenges when it comes to work and home. I was going to school. I'm writing exams. My children are writing exams. Then, interestingly, at the height of it all is when some proposals must be sent in order for you to get work to do. So you're managing all of this at the same time because they're all deadline driven. And therefore, one party who is not, so what we've tried to do as a couple is that we don't do school at the same time. And we've intentionally done that because currently our children are in the stage where they're in school. So one person will do a course at a time, just to make sure that the other person is there to manage the challenges that arise with that, whether it is at the workplace or it is at the home. And I think this is also a good benefit in working together. So when you're working together, you can benefit from these decisions, agreements, and leverage on these. Does that spark or trigger anything else?
I'm fine. Very good discussion.
Are you sure? I hope this has been a helpful conversation. If you haven't yet subscribed to Leader Freak TV, please do so right now. Even hit the notification button so that you never ever miss an episode. And when you come onto the platform, go to the playlist and choose from amongst the playlist that which choose a video that will answer your most relevant need or question or thought at that time. We look forward to seeing you and engaging with you regularly.